What's up? What's happening? What's going on? Everybody, we're back to Anime Sensation. Join. It was just a fan of the Mission Queen TV and movies. I'm your host, Jackson Small. I'm still working on a tagline. Please excuse me. Welcome back to Amazing World of Gumball, and we are up to Season 1, Episodes 3 and 4. Let's start with Episode 3, The Third. I'm pretty sure they made that title ironic on purpose. So, in this particular episode, no preamble or nothing, we're just going to jump right in. In this episode, Gumball and Darwin believe that they have grown bored of each other. So they decide that they need to get a third friend. However, this ends up going completely sideways when Tobias ends up trying to steal Darwin away from Gumball. And Gumball tries to hang out with some of his other friends, but it doesn't go very well, to the point where he realizes how much he needs Darwin and goes to get him back. In one of the most hilarious chase scenes ever. Like, seriously, this show is proving itself to be great at chase scenes. They are absolutely hilarious. But before I even talk about the episode itself, I have to talk about all the characters that debut in this episode, because there's a lot of them. A lot of minor characters debut in this episode, as well as our very first prominent appearance of Elmore Junior High, after seeing just a little bit of it at the end, well, in the B plot of The Responsible. So, every minor character that is, well, every minor supporting and kind of sort of not really main character that debuts in this episode is Tobias, who is the main antagonist, kind of, sort of, but also not really. It's a confusing situation. Alan for the supporting characters, and then the minor characters, there's a lot. Ready? Sun, Banana Joe, Leslie, Tina, Rachel, Carrie, Juke, Idaho, Ocho, Anton, William, Bobert, Penny, Terry, Molly, Masami, Carmen, Hector, Hot Dog Guy, Green Bear, Fuzzball, Principal Brown, Miss Simeon, even though she was technically in the last episode, but barely. She has a slightly more prominent role in this one. Clayton, 8-Bit Dog, Blue Wig, Mushroom, Pants Bully, Jamie, Rosie, Donut Cup, Donor Cop, not Cup, Sewer Cap, and Brick Wall, who is also involved in one of the funniest parts of the episode that we'll get to in a minute. So, this episode is a kind of sort of not really parody of, relationships and, realizing that the two sides are bored of each other. And yeah, you've seen this kind of plot before. It's not the first time that we've seen parodies of relationships in animation. But I will say that this does it way better than SpongeBob did, because instead of the whole thing being, Patrick being a unlikable douchehole for a grand majority of the episode, this one instead is the two of them trying to find a mutual solution to their problem by having a third friend in their group to, try to help liven things up. But the opposite happens after Tobias gets involved, and now Gumball ends up having to try to win Darwin back, even though at first he does try to just hang out with the friends that he has. Specifically, the balloon character named Alan, who is also involved in the other funniest part of the episode. So, that's pretty much the basic premise. I don't think it's quite a great episode because, to be honest, I've never been the biggest fan of these relationship parody episodes. It's not that they're bad per se, it's, well, aside from Dump is terrible. That SpongeBob episode, complete trash. No, it's more so because it's just something that doesn't interest me. Romance movies really don't interest me very much, and parodies are kind of the same way, unfortunately. So, not entirely the episode's fault, it just has a premise that's more iffy for me. Not to mention that this episode also has a pacing problem, where it's way too slow. Like, the first two episodes, lightning fast, breakneck pace, straight to the point. This one tries to have a bit more of a story to it, and it doesn't really work, because since up to this point the show has been trying to establish a breakneck, fast-paced style, trying to slow that down just doesn't really work that well. At least not for me. I know it's different compared to what some people think. And this is not a bad episode, don't get me wrong, but I just don't think it's a great one. I think it's a really good one, and it's because the gags are in it that are there are ridiculously funny. I already mentioned a few times the chase scene that's in the episode, but I gotta talk more about it. So Gumball tries to play games with Alan. Alan has no hands, and then Alan convinces Gumball to go back and get Darwin. So he then borrows a tricycle from Rosie after paying $70 for it. He throws the money and pedals off in it. And then he goes through what's cement. And then he goes all the way up a giant hill, leaving him to blame the stupid ants and the stupid cookie that gave them the idea of a third in the first place. And he gets over many hills and valleys until he goes down a very steep hill that causes him to catch on fire and zip through town like a meteorite. And it doesn't stop until he literally goes through Tobias's house. Like, it's actually genuinely funny. And then you also have Banana Joe trying to make these jokes that he thinks are funny, but Gumball and Darwin find kind of awkward, especially when he peels himself and slips on his peel. Yeah, I'm not sure if I should consider that a gruesome adult joke or a very just strange off-kilter, low-hanging fruit slip-on banana joke. I don't know. But besides all that, the episode is still really good. I do like how it handles this admittedly very basic and overdone premise. And like I said, it does do it way better than SpongeBob ever did. So, points for that. But it's still just not a great episode. I don't like the pacing, and I'm just not a fan of these romance parody episodes. They're just not my thing. So, a bit of a step down from the first two genuinely great episodes, but not to the point of being unwatchable, just to the point of being a noticeable downgrade. And because of that, after I get through the highlights, I'll go through final verdict. Sorry, you can tell I'm kind of rushing a little bit because I'm already a day behind. So, highlights for the third. Alan having no hands. They keep bringing this joke up over and over as Gumball tries to do all these things with Alan that he usually does with Darwin, and keeps forgetting that Alan is a balloon. Not only that, but also saying Alan's name wrong multiple times, calling them Arthur and a ton of other names that are not his name. And Alan has to keep telling him multiple times, I have no hands. I don't know why they decided to make a balloon a character, but it works in this case and it's genuinely funny. And then, of course, easily the funniest part of the episode for me is during the chase when Gumball is trying to get to Tobias' house to get Darwin back. He ends up seeing a brick wall in front of him. And the brick wall, the thing can actually talk. And Gumball keeps saying, move out of the way! And the wall obviously says, I can't, I'm a brick wall. And Gumball says it again, and he's like, I'm a brick wall. I don't know why, but that joke had me cackling. That one was genuinely hilarious. Besides that, though, the episode's just okay. It is really good, but I can't really see myself wanting to have much reason to revisit it outside of those two great jokes. So, maybe a controversial opinion. I'm not entirely sure about the overall consensus on this episode, but for me, it's a 7 out of 10. It's a really good episode, but I can't call it great because of the pacing problems and because the plot is just not my thing. I'm sorry. And unfortunately, it doesn't really get much better because the second episode in this set is also not great. Let's talk about the debt. Okay, guys, serious question. Should I start getting worried? Because we started off with two great episodes, then we had a really good episode, and now we have an episode that's just decent. I don't know, should I start getting worried that the rest of the show's gonna start going on a downhill slope? I don't know, but this episode was pretty disappointing. because when I heard the title The Debt, I figured, oh, it's an episode where Gumball does something wrong and has to repay his debt to another character. And, goes on from there. But no, that's not the plot of this episode at all. The plot is actually that Gumball mistakes Mr. Robinson, almost running him over, for saving his life. So Gumball spends the rest of the episode trying to save Mr. Robinson's life, as he puts it, to repay the debt. And this episode, it is so repetitious and so obnoxious. Like, I get this show is weird, but this one just took it a little bit too far. Now, don't get me wrong, I like Mr. Robinson as a character. We've had grouchy characters in the animation before. It's nothing new. I mean, Squidward exists. But I just don't like how Gumball interacts with this guy. Like, it doesn't feel... It's hard to really explain. I don't really like it because, like, it's Gumball making a mistake, and yet he thinks that he has to repay this guy despite him not doing anything. I will admit, though, there is a decently funny moment in the beginning of the episode where Gumball gets in the middle of the driveway to say hi to Mr. Robinson, and he acts that his whole life is flashing before his eyes as the car very slowly backs up in front of him. I'll admit that was a genuinely decent joke. And there's one other really good joke in this episode as well, towards the end, that we'll talk about. But most of this episode is just Robinson getting harassed because Gumball keeps trying to quote-unquote save him, but in reality keeps making things worse. And obviously this gets Gumball down because he thinks that it's his fault, when in reality, it's all just a matter of misunderstanding. So, after Anais and Darwin find a way to coax him into going into the town show anyway to see Mr. Robinson, they keep trying to find ways to make Robinson, in actual danger, and makes Gumball think that he's about to get assassinated. But all their attempts fail miserably as he's doing his song and dance performance, which the song itself is actually not bad. I Want to Be Free. It's a decent little opening number for the first actual song in the show. And then it ends with him actually saving Mr. Robinson's life, but Robinson, well, not being very kind in return about it. And that's pretty much the episode. Like, it's repetitive. Like, it's not a bad thing, but it's really repetitive. And the repetition is what, in my opinion, makes this episode so difficult to watch, because, like, yeah, it's not bad, but it's just so repetitive because it's the same thing over and 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 over again. Like, it gets tiring. It gets tiring and super annoying. Like, this is one of the only episodes so far where I don't like Gumball's characterization, like, at all. Like, it's almost Season 6, Season 7 SpongeBob level bad. However, again, I like Mr. Robinson as a character. I think he's a very interesting character, and I hope that they do another episode like this, but him actually being the main focus instead of, Gumball being a nuisance. But I don't know, just it's the episode's decent. It's still good, but just barely so. I mean, it's the debut of Mr. Robinson and his wife, as well as Moon, Saturn, Rocky, Blue Elephant, Yellow Old Man, Louie, Donald, and Nicole, who is mentioned, but yeah, she's not actually in it. But that's pretty much it. That's the episode. The one highlight, outside of the decently funny moment in the beginning, the actual highlight, by far the funniest part of the episode, is when Anais tells Darwin to throw a brick at Gumball that has the message on it that they made to make him think that Robinson's getting assassinated, but instead of throwing it in front of him, Darwin straight up smacks Gumball in the head with it. Which, that was actually a really funny moment, because then Anais is like, throw it towards him, not at him! Like, that was easily the funniest part of the episode, but besides that, it's 6 out of 10. It's a decent, okay episode, and I'm starting to get worried that this show's going to start going downwards in quality for me, even though, again, it is the first season, they're still establishing things, there's going to be rough patches, but I am getting a little worried, because I loved those first 2 episodes, and yet, for some reason, these 2 were just good and nothing more, or in the case of this one, just decent. I don't know. You guys let me know down in the comments if I should or shouldn't be worried. But regardless, that is going to be the end of this review. Thank you guys so much for watching. Feel free to like, share, and subscribe for more videos like this almost every single day. And of course, feel free to hit the hype button to get this higher up in the algorithm if you so desire. You don't have to. It just helps the channel out if you do. And join me next time when we continue our look through Gumball, regardless of me being fearful it may or may not start dipping in quality, with episodes 5 and 6, The End and The Dress, which you're also getting today, because, like I said, I'm a day behind. So, until that review, thanks for watching. I'm Jackson of Animation Station, and I'll see you next time. Peace.